Welcome back to another Straight Talk podcast with All Pest Solutions. I'm Wendell Daniel, founder and CEO of All Pest Solutions. Again, with me today is my ride or die, my son Jacob, Chief of Operations. And this month's podcast, we're going to talk about termites in North Texas.
That time. It's here.
It is. As we roll here just 2 days, I guess, before April.
Yeah.
Yeah. It will be on us before we know it. We've already started to see a few early swarms.
Yep.
Cold weather's definitely got them shut back down a little bit, but as it humids up and those nighttime temperatures rise, we're going to see it start to unfold.
Yeah, when we hit that nighttime temperatures around 60 degrees, or when we start getting the kind of warmer days and, that 60-degree weather at night, along with the crazy weather and tornadoes and hail and all that's when this will explode.
And today we really wanted to just take an opportunity to dig a little bit deeper and try to educate our consumer. We realize and understand that our customer is forever changing. You guys are moving to Texas at a rapid rate, and some of you guys have never experienced termites. I mean, if you're from the South, this is not new to you. But if you're from the North, this is fixing to be an experience that you are not aware of.
Yep. It's eye-opening for sure.
It is. And people ask me all the time, well, what is a swarm and what are termites? I moved from wherever, and when you experience them, you'll know.
Yep.
It's
so much different than, you got a few, and I say a few, 20 or so flying ants in the house. I mean, we're talking thousands. I mean, if you walk in a room that's actually swarming pretty hard, I mean, you can't breathe without sucking one down the windpipe. Yeah,
it's a game changer. So today, like I said, we want to just try to give you a little bit of entomology, if you will, to kind of some characteristics about termites, and then some what your treatment methods and options are as a new consumer to Texas.
Yeah, and conducive conditions, what to look for, et cetera.
Yeah. So, on our podcast, we laughed and talked about the 3 T's today. Taxes, termites, and tornadoes come to North Texas all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
10 days either side of Easter Sunday, and if I had a nickel for every time they swarmed on Easter Sunday, I'd be a rich man. Like mid-April is when it unfolds.
Yep, for sure. Which then again, Easter's earlier this year.
Yep.
So,
it's kind of, I like to use the analogy of, sometimes the dam gets a crack in it and it starts leaking, and sometimes it just breaks. And we don't really never know from year to year and season to season, but yeah. It's just how it unfolds.
It seems like it's kind of kicked up a little bit earlier than it did last year.
Yep.
April in general last year, we had a lot of 40-degree days throughout the most of the month,
Yep. And so, well, kind of as we start here, next slide kind of talks about if, it's not if, it's when, it's 1-to-1 ratio in North Texas. It's 100% chance.
Yeah.
Has a lot to do with, construction, conducive conditions, age of the home, all those kinds of things, what the lot looked like before the house was built, and all those kinds of things.
Moisture, yeah.
That train has left the station. When it stops, nobody knows, but it's coming.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and then again, we're kind of in the termite red zone. So from Texas all the way to Florida, and right there in that the South, if you will, is just nothing but termites. And the closer you get to the coast, the worse it gets.
Yeah.
Moisture
so
content.
we kind of gave you that map there on the screen to look at what Jacob's talking about there. But yeah, if you live in Alaska, you don't have any termites. But the further you move south, the more that becomes, and it's a real deal in Texas.
Yeah, well, they go from in the ground here, and then you keep going further south down into Mexico. They start going to the trees. When the moisture content is really high all the time, and they can survive above ground. But most of the termites we're dealing with here are eastern subterranean. They are coming from subground, from the earth to the house and back to it.
Yep. And there another bullet point there is that, homeowners insurance we know what kind of increases we've had in North Texas this year.
Yeah.
15 to 30%, but it still don't cover termite damage.
What was the statistic on termite damage? Termite damage collectively across the nation was more than all of the natural disasters
Correct.
Combined.
Yeah, as that includes hurricanes, fires, tornadoes, all those combined doesn't outweigh termite damage.
Yep.
It's substantial. We looked at a huge apartment complex this last week, and they opened the walls up. And it's the silent killer. It's the what you don't know that's going on because they eat from the inside out. But they opened up these walls on this facility which was like the clubhouse, if you will, and because of water damage.
Sure.
And that's not what they ended up fixing. I mean, they did, but they didn't.
Yeah. Well, it's, like you said, silent killer being, once you noticed it, it's already too late, most cases.
Yeah. So we're kind of going down a little bit, we'll talk a little bit about biology, if you will, there's, the pictures. Yeah. So we'll talk a little bit about those, the real examples. DJ throw them in on me. It wasn't in my slide.
Good job, guy.
We'll talk about the two pictures left and kind of middle,
which we can kind of circle back to that when we start talking about the Sentricon. But what we're looking for this time of year, so we're kind of going into the biology and the swarm. That's the one that we're depicting here. So in the top right corner, that's a picture of my hand, which I kind of have girly hands. I don't have very big hands, but that's a very large set of swarm castles. That's in the IT closet at the Wiley Independent School District admin office, right? That was the first one that they seen. That one at the 8-inch water main, that was the big one.
Yeah, that was inside.
Took us forever to figure it out. We had to cut a hole in the sheetrock to find it, you know. But then again, those are landing platforms. Up there, that's dirt built up onto the sheetrock, right? And there's one, when I should have included the other picture where we scraped it off. We scraped that off. There's one little bitty pinhole at the bottom. So they literally breach the wall and build that out. That's a launch platform. That's all that is, and then that's what's launching, right? Those are your swarmers or your alates.
Yep. Yep. So, and then as he switched slides there, that's some termite damage in a house that we experienced. Just what it kind of starts looking like in the tunnels that run on the, below the paint texture.
Right. So they ate the paper on the sheetrock. Yep. It made the paint give and fall, And
as we educate consumers, you kind of have to back that up a little bit. So 90 days ago, the queen of that colony started producing swarmers, and everything's getting in that mode to turn them loose. That's what those swarm castles that we were talking about earlier, that's their launch pads. They're all staged in there, and when all the things line up, when the barometric pressure's right, nighttime temperature's right, rainfall, humidity, and all those things, give or take 10 days either side of Easter Sunday normally, when she'll turn them loose. And that's the smoke where there's a fire. The bigger problem is this is what you find when you start digging and looking. But, again, as we've talked about many, many times, I don't think the human kingdom gives God enough credit for the animal kingdom. Yeah. God made them far more intelligent than we give them credit to be.
Well, they're life's little mini engineers. They'll deconstruct it and construct it and continue.
People ask us all the time, well, what's the benefit of termite? Why are they here? Well, because they recycle dead woods in the forest, but Darwin's theory of life, find a way to sustain life, plays out there again. If you take the forest away from them and we continue to build cities, they'll eat your house. We
kind of built a forest box for them to come eat on.
Yeah, they will not be denied. But there's seven casts. They all have duties and tasks. They work for the greater good of the colony. Great thing about termites is they don't care what inflation is. They don't care who's president. They don't care Democrat, Republic. They don't care. None of that matters to them. They do what they do. Yeah, 24/7, 365.
And the only damage causing termites are workers. Everything else is just filling a different role. So the workers are the ones that are consuming the cellulose or the wood, paper, whatever that is in the house, and they are bringing it back to and feeding the soldiers that are protecting them. The king and queen, or the alates, or the nymphs, all the little babies, right? They are coming back, bringing it all back to a hub, right? When we get to the treatment and process, that's why it's designed that way. But they consume, bring back, eat as a unit, and they never molt at the same time. But as they shed their skin, that's a constant process of feeding and destroying altogether.
Yep, that's for sure. And again, fun fact is, it's the only living thing that I know of that's born unisexual. Yeah. Termites are born, and then until they reach adolescence, she can determine what she wants them to be and change how they move forward and what role they play in the colony for her. Yep.
And I think it's important to note too that the alates or the swarmers, the ones that are going to make the phone ring, that are blowing out through the house, right? Black with white wings, they are non-damage causing.
Correct. They're the smoke, the fires in the wall burning.
If they're blowing through the swarm castles in the living room, it's panic little, but it's really nothing to panic over. It's the ones in the wall that you can't see that you need to be worried about.
Correct.
That swarm is non-damaging. That's just creation of more colonies.
Yeah. And if in doubt, give us a call. We can make the identification. Ants and termites, swarming termites look very similar.
Mm-hmm.
We've got some pictures there and talk about them. We've talked about them a lot, but an ant's always got 3 segments and termites only got 2.
In most cases, they look like one. It's hard to notice.
It's hard to notice, but if in doubt, call us. We'll confirm or deny which one it is, and then we've got remedies for both.
Yep.
We had a really good demo today that I wanted DJ to show us. We literally done an annual inspection on a bedding system literally today for the City of Whiting Municipal Complex, and good thing about that system and Brent Parker and the mayor and trying to protect our city's assets, and kudos to you guys for buying what we were selling there because of the attack we had, but found those active today on that facility. So those are the ones that we got to worry about. That's a Sentricon Fruit 2 HD bait tube that's in our Sentricon baiting system that we put around structures, and it's doing its job.
Yep. I mean, that one was literally had active termites on it. That was another one from a different location. It's just pretty much, it's whooped down. Yep. It's smoked.
Yeah, we had another one there that came from the complex again today. Where they, and just talk a little bit. We'll just kind of transition to methods, I guess maybe.
Well, we kind of skipped a little bit. I guess we can skip again. Yeah. Do you want to come back to it? Do you want to go straight to Sentricon?
Let's go to, since we're talking about it, then we'll come back to conducive conditions. That's the one we skipped, right?
Okay. Yeah.
We're talking about it, talk about what this is.
Well, then again, that is the control that's within the station, right? So if we're using the city complex and many of the other buildings within the city, these stations are holding that Recruit HD. That product is designed to affect or be controlled through the feeding process. So there's enough bait within each one of these sticks. I think it's 150 grams of Novaflumaron, right? It's a IGR. It's an insect growth regulator. It's designed to shut down the molting, which allows them to molt to the next stages of life. Right. And so it literally shuts that down, and they can't molt, and they just die within themselves. It's 90 days colony elimination, but we can kill 2.5 colonies per station. Yep. And on average, that's the stations put every 8 to 10 or so feet. Yep. We can play with that, give or take. But that's how this system works. It's designed to give them something to feed on. And there's tons of YouTube videos from Dow AgriLife Sciences and some others where they did time-lapse videos where they actually prefer that bait over.
I got one. I got it up. Yep. So that's what it goes in. We call it an always active system. So the day we put it in the ground, it's active the day we put it in the ground. And obviously that's what it looks like new, and this is what it looks like after it's been in a year and had consumption. And you've seen the partial pieces that we showed you a minute ago up close, right, where they've just riddled them.
Sure. And we can kind of somewhat segue that back to conducive conditions and other things, right? And so that stick or that bait stick there looks kind of gnarly, right? They like the word gnarly. Dow does. So the more, I guess, the higher the moisture. I don't want to use that. I don't want to freak out some of the listeners. But the more moisture, the more mud, the more growth, and just nastiness around the house is what makes this work so much better. The conducive condition of moisture or of wood or shade or all of the things that they need to thrive, that's where we're going to put that, right? And it gives them a source of something to feed. They never stop looking for, needing a source to feed. This gives them that, and it gives us something to control with.
Right. Well, back up a little bit on that. So, really for 100 years in America, we treated houses the same way, conventionally with liquids. And then when chlordane was outlawed in the mid-'80s and we just didn't have a product that would last long out the end of the gun, much less last forever like chlordane would do, we were in this tough learning curve. So that's when Sentricon, Dr. Daniel Sue, invented Sentricon at the University of Florida on a Dow AgriScience grant, and it has been life-changing to our industry.
Well, that and Termador.
And Termador, which we finally come along with, a non-repellent colony eliminating liquid termiticide. So no matter what game you're playing with All Pest Solutions,
it's the same.
Yeah, our end result is to kill termites and gain control all at the same time, reduce populations, eliminate.
Keep them killed. But then again, the technology is pretty much the same, right? They're both insect growth regulators. They're both designed to affect that outer skeleton, right? This does it in a liquid format or emulsifiable concentrate, right? It's applied to the soil, bonds to the soil. As they work through the soil, they get in the product, right? This is ideally a virus that we implement to the house. They work through it. This works. It's not exactly the same, right? Well, there's 3 additional parts in the molecular structure of novaflumaron versus fipronil, but it does the same thing. The delivery method is different.
Yeah. Well, there again, and people ask all the time when we start talking bedding systems anyway, was that going to draw them to the house? No, termites are blind and cannot see. They do everything by sense and smell. They tunnel through the earth looking for food sources. They don't put all their eggs in one basket. They gather and take it back and buffet style eat together like you talked about earlier.
Yep.
So you're not drawing them by putting a bait system around the house. Termites are going to do what they do.
They're already there.
They're already there.
Yep.
They're going to just find it by sheer numbers game.
Well, and it's not uncommon to find them just digging around in the garden. Right? That's happening a lot in the spring too. You can literally just working up the old bushes and moving all your shrubs to one side, or doing new mulch. Like you can literally dig that up and find termites right there.
We tell our guys, especially this time of year, because they get real topical, real close to the top of the soil. You can flip over, your any kind of stepping stones or rocks, pavers, or anything like that, or your splash blocks for your gutters. You flip those things over this time of year, you're going to find those little white grains of rice that we showed up close in that picture a while ago.
Yeah.
Termites is what that is.
And that's something else too. It's, even in mulch, right? You don't want to use hardwood mulches. You want to use coniferous.
Cyprus and Cedar.
Yep. Because of the oils or the sap inside of that. They don't like to eat that. That's why you use cedar for fences, is that they'll eat it over time as it gets old, but not initially. It's just not really that edible to them.
So a little bit more just about Dow Sentricon bedding system. So there again, when you start dealing with termites, you've got to deal with, how do I stop this? How do I protect my investment? What are my options?
Yep.
With us, you get them all. But you do become at a fork in the road. We're either going to go a bedding system and surround the house, put a bedding system and manage, take out the roller coaster ride and protect the house and go. Or we're going to do some type of liquid, whether that be a spot, partial, or a complete treatment or whatever.
Yep.
It matters not to us. We don't have to live in your checkbook. We're going to bring two really good options to the table for you. We're going to be competitive in the market.
Yep.
Only way we know how to do it is to do it right, do it by the label. Don't take that for granted, because that doesn't happen every day.
Yep.
But they're both really good options, and some make more sense than others on the situation.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of, at your own taste, if you will. So, the two different products work awesome. We have done termite work for 20 years with Termador. Fixed just as many termite problems with spots as we did completes, right? It does not matter where we put it, it will kill it.
Well, we've had less than one attack or retreat, or however you want to label it, a year. Less than one a year in 20 years.
Yeah. And even then, those were strange or iffy, or you got the house was leveled. So that's one of the big things about that, right? If you got your house leveled and they dug all that up, or we added a whole bunch of more dirt or other things, that can disturb the product or the barrier. As long as it stays undisturbed, that can last 10 to 15 years. But that's the difference between chemical, and an actual bait stick, right? Once you put this in the ground, the time clock starts ticking, right? And then the other weather affecting opportunities there. But like with this, right? So this is an actual chemical, it's a man-made chemical. A lot of people don't like that, right? This is the green version, right?
Yeah.
This is way more natural. We can chew on this if you want to. The kids can handle it, won't hurt them. I don't suggest that. Wouldn't do that. But that's one of the things, we're not required to wear gloves or have PPE for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, the dog digs it up, and it happens from time to time. Dogs don't molt, so it ain't gonna hurt that dog.
Correct. It's not designed to hurt us.
I realize that our listening audience may not even know what a molting is, but if you've ever seen a locust shell out on the front porch that's had an out-of-body experience and grown to be a bigger locust, that's what doesn't happen to this termite. It doesn't allow that exoskeleton to crack off and for him to climb out and become a bigger termite. It just crushes him, and that's how it works. Very slow acting, very subtle.
But, this can literally just update. Once you put this in the ground, by label, you don't just keep adding to this. This isn't a treatment you do every year. It's something you want to inspect and check on and make sure is okay. If it's been disturbed, you can update, but per label, you don't do that. This is maintained every year, right? They eat it, we replace it. They consume it, we put another, and they may hit different stations over the year. This can run indefinitely. After 10 to 15 years, we got to re-up. With Termador. But a lot of
liquid termiticide, conventional methods, it has a life to it. And we have to refresh that at some point. Bedding system, you just go.
And a lot of people like this over this as well because, we're going to mix this in the big rig. We're going to dig the trench. We're going to apply the chemical, let it soak, put the dirt back. You can't see it, right? You can't ride it, can't touch it. It's just there. And you got to know it's there. With this, it's tangible, right? So you can pop the lid and look at it. You can see it. You can see it's controlling termites, see that they were there a quarter ago and now they're not. A lot of people like the tangibility of this.
Yep. Now, there again, only 3% of pest control companies in America are partnered or with Dow. They're very picky about who they do business with. So, there's a lot of bedding system out there, but they're not the same. And then not everybody's created equal with that. You're only as good as integrity of the company and or the technician checking it. So, a spade isn't a spade with that. Make sure you're doing business with somebody you can trust. It's going to manage that system, because if it doesn't get checked and managed, it's really important. What else? What else you want to wrap up and talk about here? So we conducive conditions is what we skipped a while ago. So let's go back and pick those up. Yeah. Those are super, super important.
Yeah, we talked about moisture. We talked about even mulch, right? I'm looking out here at the one of the worst scenarios for termites, right? And that's Asian jasmine, right?
Especially when it's grown up on the house. You don't manage it.
Well, and that's the thing is that termites work within tunnels and within dirt, right? So like even this.
Great story there, by the way.
Yeah. This came out of a house in Garland, out of a crawl, right? This thing is at least 15 years old, right? I pulled this out from underneath there. Now, this thing has stayed intact. They mix that saliva with dirt, creates kind of like a mortar, right? That's the tunnel they work within. This gets bigger the older and the longer it's been there. Why did I just blank?
Well, there again, on a pier and beam house, they have termite shields. Sorry. That's what they used to do years ago, was just a piece of flashing that comes out off the top before the wood starts on top of the concrete wall and kind of 45s down.
Right. Well, I had a duh moment on that one. Well, the point I was making was on the actual tunnels themselves. Because they're so opaque in color, they can't take the Texas sun or the other elements. So they're building their bridges to where they need to be as a means of safety. It's predators are attacking them or just the elements are killing them. But this is a byproduct of like conducive conditions like the jasmine, right? The jasmine is covering up the slab line. It's high in moisture, and they can attack faster because they don't need to build as much cover to get to the house, Yep.
But that was on a crawl that had termite shields. It was, protected against termites. But the reason that thing's at a 45-degree angle is that they leaned that tunnel out and went around that flashing and still made an attack on that house and ate the floor up.
Yep.
On that house for sure.
Yep. And Grandma sitting in a chair right above it, fixing to fall through the floor.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Guys, as we wrap up here today, the bottom line is that termites are a real deal in North Texas. And when most homeowners find out or business owners or structure owners, however you want to label that, find out they have them is in the next 30 days.
Yep.
You know, as you experience that, know that it ain't the end of the world. We can fix it. It's manageable. It's affordable.
Yep.
And there is, you know, life after termites. We can manage our way through it.
Yep.
We're as good as anybody in the business. You know, give us a call, and we can handle it. You know, what else you got to go with that?
I mean, not a whole lot. I mean, there's several different options. I mean, we have bundles now where we can bundle these systems, the Sentricon systems, with general pest control. It makes it a little easier on the pocketbook. You can start to kind of pay that monthly. You're not getting bogged down with the big hits. Or we can do it singular, or we can go this direction. There's lots of different options. It's all dependent on what's going on there. But
for sure, you know, you can manage your way through it. And you know, for those people that have had termites before, they get on a program with us, and they get on a bundle with us, and they put pest control and Sentricon preventative system in the ground, never look back, and they don't have problems.
Yeah,
you know, but we got options no matter what happens, whether it be curative, whether it be preventative
or commercial.
You know.
Yeah, a commercial, residential, it's all the same. We can handle it.
Yeah.
I think it's it.
All right. Guys, as it unfolds here in North Texas, you know, All Pest Solutions, got pest, call the best, 972-442-1169. Give us a call. We'll be there promptly, and let your blood pressure come down. We'll get you fixed up. Appreciate you guys joining us today for another straight talk with All Pest.